Can you hear me? Yeah, you can? Good. Okay. We're going to wait a couple minutes and we'll get started. Susan, can you hear it?
I can hear. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Hey, Lainey.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Are you going to school tomorrow?
Well, we have 2 inches of snow at my house. So, I'm not thinking that's going to happen. We were out all day today, too. So,
Yeah, we have a 2-hour delay tomorrow.
were you guys in school? Oh, I haven't heard yet.
They said it might change, so.
Susan, where do you teach?
I teach in Hot Springs.
Oh, that's fine. So you had 2 inches? Okay. We haven't had anything.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Got a couple minutes wait and then we'll get going. So did you make up all your days last year, you guys? Those of you who are in one of your places?
Yes.
Every single one of them. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Julie.
Hi.
You made it. We got a couple of minutes and we'll start. These two are reporting snow days. Do you have one?
No, we do not have one. Not yet.
And where are you?
I'm in Rutherford County. So just like 20 minutes from Gardner Webb, but it's just supposed to be cold here.
Yeah,
really cold.
We had a little rain. Hey, Rebecca. We had a little rain, and that was about it. And it seems to be over now.
Yeah, there was a lot of rain earlier today, but it was sunny this afternoon when school got out. So I'm hoping that we'll not have a snow day.
Good evening, Carrie.
Hey there.
Good evening, Rebecca. Glad you guys could join us.
Hello.
One more minute, I'm going to go. I hope everybody's had a good week. Sounds like everybody's getting ready to take tomorrow off, or at least half of it. I'm doing my CC1 duties in Columbia tomorrow. I hope it's no ice and snow. No, not quite. Anybody have any exciting news to say other than 2 inches of snow on the ground?
No.
That's our biggest news of the night. Okay.
Well, I have some news.
What's that?
I am a mentor for my county's robotics team, and we just finished our robot today, and now we get to code it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah?
It is, yeah.
I'm sure. I'm glad I don't have to do it.
It's going to be fun. We've already got most of the code done, but we have to test it, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot that doesn't work. But
is it all like zeros and ones, that kind of code, or is this something different?
No, it's called LabVIEW code. It's like a drag and drop code. So it's not like code that that people are used to seeing as like string-based code, where it's all typed out, like JavaScript or whatever. But this is like drag and drop code. They use it at BMW and at NASA. So we're getting the kids some pretty awesome experience with that.
That's pretty neat.
Yep.
One of my roommates and one of my housemates in college was a computer science major, and every night he stacked millions of cards on the coffee table in our living room and sorted them into stacks that for some reason made sense to him. I never figured it out. I think that was the old days. Okay, let's get going here. Share screen. Yeah, I'll choose this one. Share it. Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Whoops, I should have done that. Come back. Okay, first thing, class weekly schedule. Promise we go over it every week. Last night we had a MELS faculty meeting, and there seemed to be some people who get to the end of this process and say, you mean I had to write those evidences? We don't have anyone here with that mindset, do we? Everybody's working on OMA, you know what's due, because you guys have a meeting of all 603 students tomorrow night at 6, I believe it is, with Dr. Lamb, and I would suggest attending even if you feel like you're right on top of everything. He's really going to make the case that if you fall behind on your evidences this semester, you're going to be in deep, deep, deep trouble next semester trying to finish up, because next semester is summer term. It's only 10 weeks long. So your final term, when you have to wrap everything up, is 5 weeks shorter than you used to. So it's really important that we get these done now. Okay.
Are you talking about your artifacts that you have to do with the competency? Is that what you?
Yeah, really about the evidences, so that you know you've got to get OMA done. You know you've got
Oh, yes. Okay.
you know you got to start CAP, and he would actually say do more CAP than we have scheduled for on our timeline. Okay, so it's week 3, school and legal environment, and we're gonna take a look at this discussion, but then I want to go back to some of the things that are in the Zoom 3 week that I think would be really useful to you. I think this particular one is pretty simple. I hope no one thinks it was real hard. The one about examine the school or district field trip policy.
Mm-hmm.
You're the supervisor on a local trip. What action would you take after the bus rear-ends a car, resulting in minor injuries to several students? Okay, let's vote. Is the first person to call your boss, your mother, 911, 911.
911.
911.
911.
Everybody agrees with that?
911. What did you say the first choice was, your boss?
Yeah, because that's when people every now and then will say, oh, I'd call the principal first thing to tell him it had a wreck.
Oh, now you better call 911 first. Then your principal.
So yeah, and then exactly. So why would you call 911 first? You're going to cause trouble.
Well, because you have kids who are injured, and there was a altercation with a motor vehicle, so you have to call 911.
And there are times when you can't deal with it at a school district level, and when you got kids hurt, and is always your first priority, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So your safety of kids. I think we looked at the four most important things for teachers at one point, and teaching was actually 4th, and safety of the children was first.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all remember that sheet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after you call 911,
Your principal.
Joyce, what else? Who else?
The transportation system.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
You said, did anybody else after your
Is there anything else?
Parents, yeah.
Yeah.
Parents.
But then I thought if you got to be careful with calling parents. Well, I know they do have to be notified, but they're not able to. Like if you're on a bus, you have to be accountable of the students and make sure you have the count and who's on the bus and the, where they were sitting at for the police department. Or for
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and then the parents are not able to just take them off the bus. So sometimes that can be sticky too.
Correct. Absolutely. But
Right. My principal said that the principal should call the parents because on the phone, you don't want to say something that could incriminate the school system or make them liable for maybe, you don't want to say, oh, we'll take care of the kids' medical bills.
right.
Oh, yeah.
When that could later come back at you.
Yeah. And your principal will know the politics of the situation.
We just
Nikita?
we just had a bus accident. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We just had a bus accident after school last week outside of our school where a car ran into the bus, and it was a van, and several students had some minor injuries. The bus was, it was ridiculously wrecked. It happened right outside of the school, so right off the school ground. So I actually had just read through this assignment and read through the policies. So it was not a field trip, but it was a real situation. And because we were across the street because the kids were across the street from the school, they were getting off the bus. And so we were having to keep them back on the bus. And we had an assistant principal and an administrative assistant who were calling all the parents. And the EMS workers came and they checked out each of the kids, and then they and the assistant principal, who was she's over buses, they were the ones who released all of the kids. So it was really good to have the EMS there, and they were checking each of them as they go and answering lots of questions. So EMS actually took they had lots of procedures that they had to do in addition to what we were doing as well.
Yeah.
So that gave you another layer from parents. I mean, you don't ever want to look like you're hiding from parents or trying to keep them from their kids. But at the same time, there are realities that you have to do. So, I mean, a bus wreck at 3, you don't want to be calling home at 6 and saying, oh, by the way, there's a bus wreck today.
Oh, no.
But you don't want to be calling at 3:05 and having them on the bus taking their kids away, telling them that you can't have them.
Yeah, we were really good to be able to sequester the kids off of the bus before the parents came. So because we were across the street from where it happened, we brought the kids with the EMS advice to bring the kids back into the building. And so the parents had to come into the office and sign before the kid, and then we would go back and get the kids and bring the kids to the parents. And then the EMS went through and check them when the parents were there or before the parents got there. That's a hard call to make to a parent, to say, hi, I'm calling from XYZ high school. Everything's okay, but I need to know your kid was in a bus accident.
Yeah, I had a friend years ago whose son went to play soccer in France, and there was a terrible bus accident. Actually, 2 kids got killed. And he got his arm and shoulder ripped all to pieces. His mom just got a call. There's been a bus accident. We know some of the players are dead, but we don't know who yet.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how many of y'all are moms.
I am.
But that would not be good. It would not good. And cause probably as much trouble afterwards as some of the actual events that happened that day. So, a good lesson in making sure your politics are straight, but also making sure your priorities for your children are straight. Okay? Yeah. No one had any question about this, no problem, not even a hint, right?
Well, I had an issue with getting the policy. Like, I emailed my principal before our classes even began to try to give her a heads up, because she's like so busy, she's not really able to assist me much.
Right.
So the policy that I found online didn't really touch on this. So listening to everyone else's feedback is kind of helping me learn more than what I was able to glean from my administration.
Okay. Well, does your administration have guidelines for field trips at all in your school staff?
Well, I was able to find the policy that was in the student handbook that was just saying pretty much that kids couldn't be excluded from a field trip because of behavior, but it wasn't like more than a paragraph.
So no, you got to collect names, and you have to have who's on the trip, and monies have to be collected, all that sort of stuff. Nothing's there. Okay. Well, we can't solve the world's troubles in MELS 603. That needs to be expanded to be.
Now, does the policy include paperwork, the student permission forms?
It would.
So if it has student permission forms, that's one way to collect their names, their contact info, and then you would just need to confirm which students actually went and which students turned in their paperwork but didn't go.
Right. And whoever is the supervisor of the trip ought to have copies of all that with them, so they can call directly from the site if there's any problem. And all that should be laid out in advance, because the most important part of prevention, that careful planning, number one, it prevents accidents from happening, but number two, it prevents further ramifications down the line when there was no procedure to follow to take care of stuff. The more precise you can get with all your procedures for everything you do in your school, the better off you'll be. Okay, I have a friend who's a middle school principal in Charlotte who has no rules at all. She only has procedure. And so when she talks to the kids, it's like, well, you're not following procedures. It's never you broke a rule. You're not following procedures. We go this way, we go that way, we walk this way, we keep our hands to ourselves. Those are our procedures. And we're sort of very, very well. And she's one of those obsessive compulsive types who will write down to which shoestrings you ought to tie first, before you go on the bus. So a good lesson for all. Okay. While we're on the subject of principals kind of stonewalling information, does anybody else ever run into that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and when I go on CC1 visits to prospective students or to new students, I always tell the administrator, I say, I know where I rank and this ranks in your day's work. It's compared to all the other things that they do, they will always put you next to last. So be prepared for that. And the more kind of other people you can loop in and say, I wonder where I'd find a bus. More people you can get involved, the better off. Honestly, the principal might be the worst choice of a person for a site supervisor, in my mind, of anybody. But they do know the most, so if you can work with them well and find other ways to get around them. If you do run into issues like that, like you can't have something that you need and someone's not allowing you to, let me know or let your CC1 know, because that's one of our roles, is to step in and say, hey, you promised us that you would give them access to data and things like that. Okay?
Okay.
Well, my principal still hasn't met with my coach, like from last semester.
You wouldn't, unless you changed principal.
No, but they never met. So she said,
Oh, never?
No.
So you met him though, right?
I did, but at the last semester at the end, she told me that she didn't know what I was supposed to do because she never met with him, but she never told me till it was the end of last semester.
Do me a favor and send me an email to that effect, separate.
Okay.
We won't talk about it here, but I'll see if I can't set something up. It sounds like maybe you could use a hand. Okay. Next week, number task. No, 2 weeks. Is due. Number 1's due. Now, I want to check 2 of these things that were in here for you to do. One's called court cases, and these are some of the biggies in American history regarding schools. Okay, you see that? Okay. As you know, or I hope you know, there is no mandate for the federal government to do anything with education whatsoever. It's not part of the Constitution. Education is generally the purview of the states, completely separate from the national basis. But we found ways to kick in and have federal intervention in state situations, mostly through the Commerce Clause. And if you really want to know more about it, I'll be happy to talk at length about it. But tonight we'll just touch on a few of them. First one was Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. That's the Little Rock schools, when we first said that segregated schools were illegal. Then there was Tinker versus Des Moines Board of Education, which required that there be a due process rights before you took away what was a substantial right, which is your education, so that you couldn't just suspend willy-nilly without a due process situation. Then there was Swan versus Board of Ed in 1971. That was the first, I was there, I was a ninth grader here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Was the first busing for integration efforts in the country. Then Title I through 9 started in 74 and ran through a bunch of years. Accountability became the catchphrase in 1989. Can't read my own typing. That started the report card and all the end of year tests. A wonderful year in our lives. Then the Leandro case, which some of you may live in counties that are affected by it, to give the enough money for low wealth districts. Then the 2001 Cappuccioni lawsuit found CMS unitary in its racial makeup and did away with forced busing. Interestingly enough, that's Charlotte's become very segregated in schools again. No Child Left Behind, 2001. Value added was added onto that in 2010. Pay for performance, lottery, etc. Vouchers, new ways of charter schools, private schools, all kinds of different ways. Elimination of the master's pay, which is a disaster in my humble opinion, but so it goes. And elimination of career status. Because those are all ways that you can actually make more money in the classroom and do okay. So that's kind of the short and sweet history of major cases that affect your lives today, every day at school. I just want you to know that they're in here, okay? Let's see, there's another one. Dale's top 10 for administrators. This is a list that Dr. Lamb put together. These are the No Child Left Behind rules. Low performing, persistently dangerous schools. I was principal of one of those. And under these rules, you have to report these incidents or any of these that might occur at your school to the police and to the state. Let's see. My other sheet. Assault with intent to inflict serious injury. Assault with a weapon. Assault of school personnel. Bomb threat. Burning of school building. A death, and by that it means an unexplained death that happens on campus. Kidnapping. Alcoholic beverages on campus. Controlled substances on campus. Firearms, other weapons, rape. And remember, students with behavioral difficulties are not allowed to consent to, they can't say they consented to have sexual relations when it was rape. Robbery with a weapon, sexual assault, sexual offense, assault being an attack, offense, something not quite so intense. And IM is indecent liberties with a minor. That's usually one that you end up with teachers for. Okay. You do your PowerSchool disciplinary data reporting it all the time. You do all incidents go to NCLB, then they repeat to law enforcement. These are nothing to try to hide. They are real and they happened, and it will only come out and ruin you if you try to hide these things. There's nothing fun about being a persistently dangerous school. I was principal of one, but it's better to be on the right side of the law in this one. Some other things that Dr. Land thinks are most important about the course: prayer. Cannot be staff or administrative led. It has to be student led or initiated for it to be legal. So your principal can't mandate that you all come to a prayer vigil. You can't mandate that everyone bow their heads and pray in class before you start your lesson. However, if the kids initiate it and decide they want to do it, then they're fine. Okay? See a lot of people get in trouble in that one. Student dress and publications can be regulated to avoid school disruption. Number one on that one for us down here, especially, our kids come to school with Confederate flags on their T-shirts. That's perfectly legal to wear it down to the mall, but it creates an issue at school, and therefore a school has the right to ban them and not allow them on campus. Same with publications that call for revolt or resolution. Search and seizure. Stop me anytime if you have questions. Search and seizure.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
When you said administrative-led prayer, is that just with the students or anybody?
That's anybody. Got another one, huh?
What if you have like Fellowship of Christian Students Club and a teacher is the mentor or the sponsor for that club?
You're fine with that as long as there's something. You have to have the opportunity for an atheist club, a Muslim club, a Jewish club, etc.
Right. Okay.
Or meet off campus separately.
Okay.
But if you're using the school building, which is a state-owned institution, you can't use it to follow through with any religion, unless you're renting it to a church, of course, on Sunday. Okay. What was our search and seizure? Reasonable suspicion is school staff versus probable cause. This is a big one. This is where people get themselves messed up. I used to tell my resource officer, we got a problem down here on hallway A. I'm going to go look for a gun. I don't want you anywhere close. Now, why would you say would I not want anywhere close? Because he has to have probable cause, to check. And all I have to have is a reasonable suspicion. Thank you. So it's much easier for me to search the bag than it is for the police officer. Anyone brings anything on campus, you're the in loco parentis, so you have the right to go to the book bag just like his mom or dad does. A lot of people think that there's something sacred about the book bag that you can't go into, but you can. Remember, when someone lets their child out to your campus, everyone in the staff is in loco parentis, in place of the parent, and is able to fulfill parental duties because of that. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question.
If I find a gun, I call a cop right away. Yeah. Yes.
You said anyone on staff can be parent, like the parent role. So would that be staff only, as in teachers, or would it be teachers and administrators, or would it be teachers, teacher assistants?
No. Yeah, you want to start with the administrator.
Oh, okay.
Administrator being the one who can search, rather than whoever is anywhere around the school can suddenly just stop a child and search.
Right. Okay.
Good point. Okay, zero tolerance policies are not legal. There's always due process. There's always a process of law, and zero tolerance says there isn't. You're guilty. Okay. Abuse, neglect, harassment. You have to report that, right?
Yes.
If a child tells you they're being abused or harassed, you have to take that as gospel and follow through with it. Okay? FERPA, don't spread people's information, that's for sure. And school information is some of the most precious to parents that there is, especially if it involves exceptional children. There's due process for substantive and procedural rulings. Everything should be able to be run through due process that's going to take away from a child's education. So if I'm going to suspend a child for 10 days, there is a due process procedure that it could be overturned should something else be brought up. Arbitrary and capricious. No hollering at Mark because you always thought he was a bad guy in your class unless he actually did something. And you can't punish me worse than anyone else just because you don't like me. Okay? Any questions about the top 10 for administration teachers? Okay, like I say, I thought tonight's scenario was fairly simple. But next week, we start talking about getting sued. And we'll want to make sure that we know about those things. Any questions for tonight? Any concerns? Everybody's planning to meet with Dr. Lamb tomorrow night at 6, I hope.
Yes.
Yes, because he'll lay out the law and tell you what everything's got to be due and all that sort of stuff. Okay? Well, with that, I will say good night. If you're in one of those snowy places, watch out for yourself. Don't fall down. And the rest of us will keep the world going in the meantime. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. Good night.
Well, there's people back here I didn't even know. Enjoy your week.